Hey everybody, Sean Hamel here with another episode of the Origins podcast. Today I have Susan Leckowicz with us from Dental Coaches. Susan, it's been a long time coming to have you on the show, mostly due to scheduling snafus and illness and all kinds of stuff. But thank you so much for being on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. You're a popular guy, Sean. It's hard to get in your schedule.
Oh my goodness, not even close. We actually have known each other for quite a while. We met I think pre-COVID is when you and I crossed paths, if I remember right.
Yes, it was. It has been a while.
My, how times have changed in terms of, just the industry and the problems doctors are facing. And obviously your company is doing quite well. Congratulations, by the way. It's always awesome to see you guys doing good stuff. And you were just down in Florida with Lynn, right? At
Yes.
Supercharge?
Yes,
And you were a speaker this year, right?
Yes, I was a speaker this year. Yeah, it was a great event. And we did a kind of a piggyback thing with our coaching clients who came down the day before the event for what we called a level up your leadership event with the doctors and the team leads. So we had a big group of like 35 people down there, and they all went to Len's event. It was a great time.
That's awesome. And I always like that you're always ahead of the curve. Even back in the day, you guys are always pushing the envelope and kind of navigating, your own path, if you will, to servicing practices and helping doctors. And I've always wanted to have you on this podcast because I'm always curious, especially with the people I've known the longest, just how you got into dental, how you got into doing what you're doing. And then obviously talking about where you're going. I know we kind of touched on that before we started recording, but really excited for all the things that you're up to. But if you would just start on how you ended up being a coach and being a consultant and doing all the things that you do.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I really started my career in dental hygiene, and my dad was a dentist, and he was the type of guy who just loved dentistry. He loved the art of it. He loved the people part of it. And he would encourage anybody to go into dentistry. He encouraged people to become dentists, assistants, hygienists, lab techs. He just thought it was the best profession you could ever go into. And I really enjoyed clinical hygiene, and I practiced for over 19 years. And I spent most of my time in one office, but did a little bit of traveling around the country and worked in different practices. And whenever there was a coach that was brought in to work with us, I was just always fascinated. I was fascinated with having an outside observer and to learn what's happening in other practices around the country. I really liked setting goals. I liked being challenged. I liked growing, and I hated sitting around. So when, you had cancellations or openings in your schedule, in the days when I was working, there were no cell phones or internet. You were at work to work. There was really not much else you could do. So I was always interested in that. And I always worked in offices that really believed in developing their teams personally and professionally. And they rewarded us for making changes and working more efficiently and creating better patient experiences. And one of the coaches that worked with our practice approached me and said, I think you'd be a really good coach. And at the time, I really wasn't interested in leaving my clinical career. I was living 3 miles from the office, and I was flattered. I was like, well, I'm really flattered, but I think I'd like it, but right now isn't the right time. And then 5 years later, I ended up moving to another part of the state, and I was looking for a change. And I reached out to her, and she said, well, I'm with a new coaching company, and we'd love to have you come down and meet us. And I ended up working with Victoria Peterson and Bruce Baird with the Productive Dentist Academy for 9 years as one of their business development coaches, and really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed, working with practices all over the country. And in 2016, my dad was kind of whispering in my ear, like, when are you going to go on your own? And I was looking just to kind of expand my own, spread my wings, have my own business. And for many years, I was working collaboratively with other coaches, because I name my company Dental Coaches. I believe that one person can't know every different aspect in a dental office. There's so many. And this past year, 2 years ago, I hired my first employee, and this past year, I hired two other employees, and I have a gal that's coaching me, on growing the business. And it's been really exciting because they bring a whole another level of skill set to what we offer our clients. So it's exciting to have a team, have employees, and be able to have a bigger impact and serve more clients. One person can't coach, over 30 clients.
Well, you do a great job of it, and that's really cool. Do you think, like, did you see yourself being a consultant, or was it just that outside, I guess, acknowledgement of your skills that really led you to think about being a coach? Like, did you have
Yeah,
ideas of being a coach?
that's a good question. I don't know. I don't know. I thought it would be really cool to go and travel and go into different offices. That's what seems like glamorous about the job, right? Oh, you're going to go into different offices and meet different people and see different things and learn different things and have, some flexibility and freedom with your schedule. So, and I like people. I like trying to kind of find out what makes people tick and kind of winning them over. And that Clifton Strength Finders, my biggest strength is a woo, and I kind of think of it as a game. I kind of
Hmm.
am fascinated by other people and how to influence them or how to help them. So
Well, and in all the practice that you work with, do you see kind of a recurring theme of issues that practices face, or ways that maybe doctors cannot feel so isolated or alone and facing the uphill battle in their businesses? Do you see a lot of that?
yes, very much so. So over this past year, there's been just a greater demand for coaching with team engagement and hiring and onboarding and leadership and developing team leads and more so than ever before. We all know how competitive the job market is right now.
Hmm.
So that's been big, and it's been nice because our clients consider us trusted advisors. We spend a lot of time getting to know the team. We spend a lot of time trying to figure out how can we help the doctors develop team leads, how can we align the team and the doctor's vision and goals and core values, and we spend a lot of time doing that. And it's worked out really, 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 really well. So in addition to the kind of the nuts and the bolts of the systems and case agreement and financial agreements and all the different levers you can pull to improve the bottom line, there's a huge component of who's leading the team and how do we get everybody working
Yeah.
better together.
What do you think was most helpful in your transition? Because I mean, obviously, you meet a lot of hygienists. You see them a lot of times. They're looking for side hustles or opportunities, or I mean, I have hygienists that are like, "Hey, I'm thinking about getting into marketing, or I'm thinking about getting into whatever." What skills do you think from being a hygienist translated the best into switching over to coaching?
Well, I think you have to think about what are you most passionate about? What is that maybe one thing that you're really excites you? So if you're a hygienist and you're really passionate about the oral systemic length or perial percentages or which I am excited about, but I think my main passion was how do we help patients um, get healthy? How do we get them to understand why they need to have something done, how they can pay for it, what are going to be the benefits on the other side, and how do we win them over to to get the dentistry done that they need, right? Or
Hmm.
that they might want. So I'm always like, my big goal was how do you get people to really like going to the dentist or like their dentist or like the experience in the office? Sometimes when I fly on planes and I don't know people, I'll just sort of strike up a conversation. I'll say, "Well, do you like your dentist?" And it's fascinating. Some people are like, "Ugh, I don't even really have one." I don't, or they're like, "Yeah, I love my dentist." And I'm always saying, you need to find a dentist that you love. You may not always love the procedures, but you need to find an office you love to go to, a dentist you really like. So I get really kind of passionate about that. part of it. And I kind of started with this full case agreement system, and how do we get patients to agree to treatment? It's a whole team effort. And then you just start expanding either you expand your services or you go deeper. I ended up expanding my service mix and getting more involved that way. But there's so many opportunities, I think, for coaching or for consulting or for training. And there's virtual, there's in person, I'd be happy to talk to any hygienist who's looking to get into it. But yeah, there's so many people that need help. There's so many dentists out there.
And that's where you're headed is really exciting. So, like we were talking before we started recording, dental coaches is kind of morphing into or moving into more of like a fractional office manager um, system. I guess is that what you would call it? Is kind of a system or a protocol?
Well, we really noticed that over the past year is the pain point or the desire, for doctors to have someone who is kind of watching what's happening, watching the trends, watching, when certain KPIs are slipping or changing, and how do we train the team or, step in and make recommendations on what needs to happen. So the two team members that I have now are very experienced with managing and growing, multi-doctor, multi-specialty offices, and really bring an expertise to the whole administrative side of things and love to develop leaders. So we're really passionate about helping doctors with aligning their vision and core values with their team and, kind of identifying who's that administrative team lead, who's the clinical team lead, how do we get everyone aligned, and how do we get them to help support the doctor with all things management and growth. So we've been, we came back of a 4-day team annual planning meeting with my coach, and we kind of looked at each other and said, we're really becoming a fractional office manager for these practices. And it's been a lot of fun.
That's awesome. It's definitely a need, and it's definitely a unique position in the market to offer that. And how does a doctor know when they need you? Like, how does a doctor know that maybe their existing office manager isn't as effective as he or she could be, and that maybe it's time to find someone like you? Because a lot of doctors don't really know how to read their balance sheet. They don't know what KPIs to look for. So how would you diagnose, like, hey, maybe I should call Susan or someone like Susan to get some help?
Well, I think it's important to have some type of understanding of like your baseline certain numbers, right? Your baseline production, collections, your adjustment percentage, your number of active patients, your number of new patients, your number of patients walking out the back door. And there's so many different analytic platforms now that help doctors understand that, help us as coaches and consultants to see what's going on. It really is like lifting up the lid of the car, so there's dental intel, there's practice by numbers, there are a lot of different programs out there. And then what we've been doing is taking going into their software as well, so kind of looking behind the curtain and trying to figure out what the numbers are telling us, right? So numbers stimulate a conversation, or trends stimulate a conversation. And we get a lot of clients who feel either stuck or frustrated, or I don't have time for this. I don't have time to look at reports and pull reports. I don't know what I should be looking at. I want some guidance on what's happening. So what I've done over the past few years is taken these analytic platforms, pulled out what I think are the important KPIs to look at, and we create our own type of, we call it a win report. And I create a Loom video and kind of walk through comparing November of this year to November of last year. And I used to think they were kind of hokey and kind of corny, when you watch on video, you're like, oh. But the clients really like it, because it's like, okay, just watched your 10-minute video. I feel like I know what's happening in my practice. I know what to look for next month, what to watch. And It's like, am I making money? Am I doing well? What,
Am I making money? Yeah.
what is going on? I'm too busy, in the operatory. So that's what I find, is happening.
So you heard it here, folks. There's a difference between being busy and being profitable.
Mhm.
Maybe hiring a fractional office manager might be a good solution for you. And I'm curious, like, do you see benchmarks, or do you see when? Because the beauty of a fractional office manager is you can get all of that experience and time and analytics and oversight and less time than having a full-time employee, maybe that's less effective or less experienced. So do you have kind of a metric or a time when you're like, hey, if you hit this point of collections or whatever, where it's like maybe look to a fractional office manager? Because I think it could be so much of a new type concept that maybe the average doctor doesn't know. Well, should I hire a fractional office manager or just hire a regular office manager? Do I hire an office manager and then supplement with what you guys do? Like, how would you guide someone on what you're doing?
Well, that's a great question, right? Because every practice, is different, and there's a limit to like what we can do from a fractional standpoint. Most of the practices that we work with are collecting upwards of, 700,000 to 800,000 to 5 million. So they're kind of in that range, and I will say that some of these larger offices, we're really working to train people to replace us, right? We're
Hmm.
not going to be, we're going to be coaching and consulting, but we're working on helping them develop the team leads that don't really know where to start. So we're doing a lot of, office manager training. So we're working more with that size, practice. But I think if I believe that if you're going to hire a coach, the coaching should pay for itself with an increase in collections. There should be an impact to the bottom line. And we always say, give us 90 days. Give us 90 days. And after 90 days, if you feel like this isn't working, you're, not seeing an increase, you're not, believing in what we believe are the best practices, then, we part ways, with coaching clients. But, I see us helping a lot of different size practices, and we have a great community of doctors where we meet once a year. I bring the clients all together and we meet weekly on Zoom, but we really customize and do our coaching individually for practices. We don't group coach, we do more individual coaching.
Hmm. But I know you and I have always connected on the story and the vision and values and the patient experience and things like that. And do you think really discovering that and then infusing it effectively, getting the team rowing in the right direction, getting the doctors to maybe quit being so focused on making money and start focusing on making that impact that that shift does? Do you think that typically equates to more collections and they don't? I mean, it always seems like when I talk to a doctor about marketing, especially story-based marketing, it takes
Yeah.
them a second to readjust because the message is so different than what other agencies are talking to them about. But do you think that kind of finding yourself and then getting everybody rowing the same direction, is that what leads to the increase in collections, or is it that plus the like systems and all of those kind of things?
I think that's a big part of it. I think there's a big component of connection, right? The team has to feel connected to the doctor and the services that the practice is providing. The team has to feel connected to the patients.
Hmm.
And the patients have to feel connected, and knowing more personally about the doctor's story or personally about other patients' stories, right, that have been through the practice is so vital and important. And so many offices are coming to us saying, we want to get off of the PPO plans. And in order to do that, you really have to set yourself apart. What makes you different? Why should someone come see you? And how do we keep them connected and keep them coming back? So
Hmm.
we have coaching clients that we've had for like over 10 years, so it's like we're connected to them, they're connected to us. So that part I think is really, really important. And I always say to doctors, if you're going to, hire a coaching company and we're going to come in and want to work on accountability and stretch the team a little bit and get everybody connected to you and your vision and your purpose and why are we here and the patients, and getting excited about the dentistry and getting people healthy, what's in it for them. So we help them develop, ways to reward the team, to celebrate with the team, to incentivize the team. What's gonna make them happy.
Hmm.
It has to make sense for the business, right? It has to be tied into the profitability. And so many times the team members don't even understand the expenses of running the business, and they
Hmm.
see the collections, but they don't see the other side of it. So we help them kind of understand what the practice owner's going through and, what could be in it for them in the future. But yeah, no, the story part, is amazing. And, I love what you do, with your clients, and it's so important. And it just is, people crave feeling important, being connected, and, really want to feel like they're making a difference.
Absolutely. And it's funny. I know a lot of coaches and speak to a lot of coaches, and everybody has their like system and their silver bullet. But the story element, it seems like some either focus on it and some kind of see it as just like a checklist, a checklist item where it's like, okay, well, like what's your story? Check, and then you just keep rolling. But I really have always appreciated the emphasis that you guys put on it. I think that's probably been our biggest connection point over all these years.
Mhm.
And then now to see what you guys are doing with the fractional office manager stuff, from where it was when we met, and then just continuing to see the success that's like pouring out of your clients. It is awesome to see, my friend. I'm glad to see you just crushing it. And um,
We're having
Susan,
fun.
yeah, how do people get a hold of you if they want to learn more, if they want to maybe explore the fractional office manager thing? How do people get in touch?
So my email address is susan@dentalcoaches.com.
You
That
have a
really,
very beautiful website, by the way. It's
oh,
beautiful.
yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Who built that for you, by the way?
You did. It's your website. It's your website. Your
I'm
website.
just
You're right. I do have a great website. And my phone number is 860-657-6693 if somebody wants to reach out and give me a call. I'm happy to do kind of a free coaching, get to know you type of call, and we can kind of go from there.
That's awesome. Susan, I appreciate you being on so much. Thank you. It's been a long time coming. Good
Yeah.
luck with everything next year. It'll probably be 2024 by the time this episode airs, but just
Hey,
really
yeah.
happy to see everything going so well. And thank you again for coming on.
Yeah. Thank you. It's been a lot of fun.